It's the Cryo Lady routine. Blemish repair. Anyway, I'm off that this morning. What's it like being an au pair? Well, as I said, I got from a previous video, I was supposed to go back to college to do my A-levels because I wanted to go to university, but my parents wouldn't hear of it, just didn't want me to do that. So I felt a bit hopeless at the time and I had to get away. So my mother, Janice, so there was a publication called The Lady, which at that point in time, in the sort of 1983, I suppose this was. That was just go and buy it from a newsagent, so I did. Anyway, I circled various ads in the au pairs / nannies wanted / mothers helps. So I thought, well, I can do the job of an au pair. I'm used to hard work. Anyway, so there's this one job, and we'll call the lady Mrs. S. She had 2 children, a son aged 9 and a daughter aged, I don't know, probably about 6 months old. So, also I was used to looking after babies as well. Anyway, I had a sort of telephone interview, and I also supplied the names and telephone numbers of references, and she employed me. So I remember travelling up to London, and I don't think, had I been up to London? No, at that point I'd never been to London before. Janice went with me. I think she was in her element because when she was a lot younger, sort of 19 or something like that, she'd lived in London and she'd worked as a secretary or something like that. But anyway, we negotiated the underground and all of that. We got to this woman's house. So that was that. Mrs. S. So Mrs. S was divorced, and here's a weird situation. I don't know, I guess she had reasons for it. So Mrs. S was divorced, and she'd been divorced from her husband for a while, and she'd had a baby. No drama there. Now her partner, he was a doctor, and he was an editor of some magazine. I won't bother saying which one. I'm guessing that he was the father. In fact, I'm absolutely certain he was the father, but for some reason, he didn't want his name to appear on his daughter's birth certificate. So she'd persuaded her ex-husband to put his name on the child's birth certificate, knowing full well that he wasn't actually her father. Now, Mrs. S, how she made her money, well, as far as I knew, she built villas in Spain, specifically in Marbella. Not obviously by herself. She bought the land and everything else, and she employed people to do that for her. So I think the biggest problem that I had was most likely her partner, because I was only 17 at the time, and I'd come downstairs in the morning, sort the kitchen out, do various things there, and he'd literally sit at the table in the dining room just fixedly staring at my chest. He would very obviously stare at me. It's very uncomfortable. What else? The other thing as well is that despite me asking her to tell me or write down the things that she wanted me to do, she just wouldn't. So I had no idea, obviously, I did cleaning. I made sure cleaning, vacuuming, all this kind of business. But I didn't know exactly what she wanted me to do. Anyway, a couple of weeks in, we went to Spain. She had an apartment in Torremolinos. And when we got there, actually, the first night, she went out. She took her son and her daughter out, and she left me there. By this point, I was getting the distinct impression that she didn't really like me very much. I mean, I was trying my hardest, but if no one tells you what to do, you know, when you're in a job you've never done before, you have to sort of flounder around, you know, trying to do the right thing. Anyway, when she came back, just before she came back, I felt something wet on my shoulder. I touched it, it was blood. So I rushed into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. There's just like loads of congealed blood hanging from my earlobe onto my neck, and my ear was bleeding. Just as she came in, I think she felt pretty bad, to be fair, at the time. She dragged me out. We went to this 24-hour doctor that was closed, and then I saw someone else, and I got a course of antibiotics. Anyway, one day we went over to this place where she was having this villa built, this big place in Marbella, and the workmen had adopted this stray puppy, this German Shepherd type puppy. Anyway, they'd finished concreting the pool, so it's wet, and then all of a sudden the dog just like jumped into the pool. In fact, no, I think it was a son kicked a football into the pool, and the dog went straight in after it, and it was up to its oxters in wet cement. I mean, I laughed. I couldn't help it. I laughed. And she obviously didn't like that. It was an involuntary laugh. I didn't do it on purpose. She didn't like that. And then a couple of days later, she said, you know, I'm going to send you home. To be fair, I was really glad. I was very, very glad. Again, bearing in mind I was only 17 at the time, so I got this flight from wherever that Spanish airport for Torremolinos was, and I flew back to, I think, Heathrow, and then I had to, the flight didn't arrive until really late at night, so I then had to get a train from Heathrow to King's Cross. Now, King's Cross had a reputation for, let's say, workers of the night to hang around there a lot, and obviously their clients as well. So it's probably not an ideal place for a young, quite naive 17-year-old girl. And I had to get a taxi, but I didn't know, you know, I'd never hailed a cab or anything like that. Luckily, there was a couple. It was pitch black and really late at night. Luckily, there was a couple walking down the road, and I asked them, and they took pity on me, and they hailed a cab for me, which took me over to her house in London, where her mother was waiting. So I stayed there overnight, and then her mother's boyfriend dropped me off at the coach station, Victoria coach station, the next day. And I had to get a coach all the way back to Somerset. So I would say, you know, it's always good, if you're going to have an au pair or someone like that, it's always good to let them know what you want, you know, what you want them to do. Just let them know. So that is that.